Want to start by
Yeah, good.
transitional shot.
That's good. Well, it's just that the people who've been the main speakers for the environmental movement haven't managed, and they should have, to come up with a real vision for what happens to the working people whose jobs depend on extractive industries. I think it's fair enough that the first concern is the human beings who are working as miners and in the log woods and in the plants. Um, that but it seems to me that that's a solvable thing. That it just requires some vision and some forethought. I know out in California, where I lived for a number of years, the loggers in the redwood forests uh, understandably objected to people trying to save the redwood trees. That meant their bread and butter. And yet I don't think it's because the loggers hated redwood trees. Understandably, the loggers wanted to protect their jobs. And so it ought to be the concern of the environmentalists to figure out how to protect people's jobs, or to come up with alternative ways of going about things. It's just a problem that requires some vision that could be solved. That it's solvable is another idea that people lose sight of. That so many things that plague us finally are solvable just through if the proper vision exists. Basic attitudes. It's built in. Um, this attitude toward the land and the water and the trees, that there's an overabundance of it, that we're never going to run out. That's built into the American psyche. Um, and it's really important now to unbuild it, to have what's called a new paradigm, a new way of looking at it. But I'm totally aware of the absurdity of sitting on this pretty afternoon out here in this canoe and saying all this stuff. So I'm just going to sit silent on it for a while. Boy, it's pretty up through yonder.
Almost impossible to
Well,
get that.
don't do that with your shoulder up there. Set it down. I've tried to turn around in the canoe.
Well, I might be able to just point the camera even and do
Okay.
it.
Well, you could.
Yeah,
Whatever. You're the man.
that's working. There's no reason I have to point that way, right? Just the camera.
Let it pan along the sides if you can.
One thing I want to get is just close-ups and stuff to help us edit. So while you're paddling, I'll just get like.
Is it okay if I turn the canoe around?
Sure, I get it anytime. It's going crazy here. Pretty sky. This is a lot of fun. You want to do this a while?
What do you think about getting back in Joe's boat and helping him paddle, or shooting a little more? I'd say that what we ought to think of now is moving ourselves on back down there to the...
Go ahead and you can talk. I mean, can't even see your lips, and you know.
October's a real good time to be out on this river.
I'm not seeing as much color along here as elsewhere, though. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. Maybe the sun went behind the cloud. I think that's it.
I mean, in the trees.
Oh, I see what you mean.
There's the kind of trees they are. They're all yellow, aren't they? Going to be yellow. That's nice. Is this the Red River of the Red River Valley?
Probably it is. There's a lot of red rivers in the country.
Yeah, well, there's one in Texas, right? That's the big one, isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that this is not it. It's a real special country, this Red River country. I'm awful glad they haven't done much mining in here, although I think that it's starting to happen up in the headwaters of this river. It's starting to get a little bit of mining in it. It's really tough, you know, it's really tough to ask people with immediate needs to think about 500 years from now. It's really hard.
I like those little whirlpools you set up in the water.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that's so pleasing, you see, and so restful over here is all these shapes. When you're in town all the time, or in a big office building, or in classrooms and so on, everything is so rectangular and square built. And out here, these shapes are just so round, natural. There's no engineer mentality behind these shapes of these little whirlpools or these old crags. Too late.
Come back here, Luke. Put that right here.
I love to come over here to conflict. Are we taping?
Well, we can't. We are at the moment. You want me to turn it off?
No, I'll go ahead with what I was going to say. But I just love to come over here at the confluence of the two rivers where the Red runs into the Kentucky. Just because there's a lot of contrast, a lot going on up here in this kind of close confine, and there's hardly ever any water skiers up in here. And then you just kind of paddle on down, and a few minutes go around this bend right down here, and you shoot out into the big river. It's really a nice thought. And like I say, and every time I do that, I just keep thinking that people have been doing that for hundreds and finally thousands of years on this very stream of water. I wrote this story one time called Ancient Creek, you know. It's a very flawed story. I'm going to rewrite it someday. But in a way, it's about the ancient sources of all creation. You know, it's such a large idea that I get lost down in it, and it even gets a little silly after a while. My my line of thought. But still, the word ancient and the word creek, that this has been going on so much longer than we can comprehend. I mean, I don't comprehend it, and I guess maybe it's not important to comprehend it. Maybe what's important is simply to be in the thought of it. It's like it's about participation somehow with your spirit. Maybe it's about getting in touch again with all those old things that are renewing to the spirit, you know. I think that's what the fishermen are up to. I think they're really having the best time of anybody. I'm an intellectual, you know, and so I try to find words for all these thoughts and stuff that I have and make stories out of them. And there's a lot of water imagery and stories I write, and that's what I'm trained to do, and so on. But just because you're not verbal about such thoughts doesn't mean that you don't have them. My grandfather was not a verbal man so much. He was a coal miner over in Lee County, Virginia. A real thoughtful fellow. Both my grandfathers were really thoughtful men. I'm named after my father's father, Gurney Norman. Used to manage a commissary down at Allays for Columbus Mining Company there at the edge of Hazard. You ever been down there? That's where the vocational school is now?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, it's all bulldozed away, you know, but that used to be a total community, Allays. All those coal camps were.
Right, is it like, that's like right when it gets kind of flat there, isn't it, right to foot of the mountain, or is that further in?
Well, it's been bulldozed off.
Oh, I see.
That used to be thriving community, you know. I mean, it would go through good times and bad, but when I was born in 1937 and lived in that community until about 1946, and my grandfather was manager at the commissary, and he knew everybody and everybody knew him, and so I got to hang out at the commissary. And my father worked as an underground miner at Allays, and the North Fork of the Kentucky River flows just down over the hill there, right in front of it. And people used to get out on the North Fork of the Kentucky River on Sunday afternoons and have just the finest social time. There used to be real beaches, you know, real pretty sandy beaches all along the North Fork along there. I remember people from area in the town down there would go out on Sunday afternoon and take picnics and just enjoy the water, you know, swim in it. All in the late 30s and into the 40s, maybe up into the 50s. And I don't know that people do that anymore. I don't know that people feel that easy about the river anymore. Maybe they do, you know. Maybe kids do. You know, maybe the kids are swimming in it and digging frogs and stuff. But I don't think grown-ups go to the river much anymore. But in those days, it was a place to go to for recreation. I was just saying that both my grandfathers were real silent, thoughtful men, and I've turned out to be, you know, highly verbal, you know, to thought. I talk too much, but I know that they both thought in deep ways about things, and that they were important influences.
I grew up largely on the banks of the Powell River, right about where it's
The little spider, we couldn't get that, but he was just working.
Never can tell. I don't know where he is now.
Yeah, he was a little one. On the Powell River?
Yeah.
You were born on the headwaters of the Powell River?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, close. It's not much of a river at all there. It's it's just
Well, you
a little
see, I grew up, a good deal of my childhood was spent along Powell River, down around Pennington Gap, where it's become a pretty good river. It's about like this. In fact, this reminds me of the Powell River a whole lot in places.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that you was from that country, Paul, but I hadn't thought that you was a Powell River rat.
That's pretty much what I was, too.
Did you fool around on that river?
Yeah, well, I was always told to stay away from it because they were washing a lot of coal upstream from us. And it was pretty dark and dirty most of the time. I think we lost Joe. Should we save some tape, or you think, or what?
So. Yeah, I believe we've done real warm up, done it.
It's there.
Shoot that landscape and let that old boat come right in. We didn't go up very far, so I don't know. We're just paddling. We don't have a motor, so we didn't go very far. How far up y'all going?
We just fooling around.
Going to catch a fish?
We can go fish. You all caught anything?
No, I haven't started fishing yet. I was going to wait a little while.
Yeah.
We're just enjoying the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's real pretty up in here.
It sure is. Hey, that brother got a motor back there. Why can't he show you?
Well, I don't believe that motor works. Joe's having to paddle in. Say a little tape. Figure it out. You be the judge. It'll take a couple minutes to get out.
Okay. It hasn't gotten any better then.
Huh?
It hasn't gotten any better then.
Well, I've come to think that the early one's pretty good.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've gotten. I've watched a lot of them now, and I've seen them all several times. And I've come to appreciate some of the humor and the basic premises of it. I'm not made up my mind yet, but.
Are you wanting this or to avoid this?
Well, I don't mind having it. I'd say you ought to get some of it. It's here.
This is documentary. This is real life.
I might get me a houseboat one of these days. Just come over here and live on it.
It's a nice place for it. Sure would.
Look at that. I don't mind living on that houseboat. of course, what you know is anytime two rivers come together like this, that it's been a rendezvous point. You know, from over here at Irvin to Winchester, back up to kind of Clay City, or Stanton maybe, is was prime hunting and trapping country that Boone is part of did. Where they camped and so on. Station Camp Creek's coming in over there around Irvin, and Lovagrid Creek coming down behind Winchester, out there in the vicinity of the old Indian fields, are well-known places where those hunters